When naming Melissa and my soon-to-be little girl, who will be the proud owner of a Social Security card with the understanding that by accepting such a burden means that the U.S. government owns her in perpetuity. We will be allowed to raise her how we see fit, with the caveat that, should old Uncle Sam ever come a-callin', our delightful days of baby poop and broken heirloom knickknacks would, to our chagrin, be numbered. We, and by we I mean she, picked the name Vera. She had read it in some book, or so she tells me. Hey, I fully understand that pacts with Satan need to be kept secret, lest your secret no longer be the kind able to stay kept. We've since found out that the name Vera begins its origin in Russia, where it had no doubt belonged to a chick named Vera. Well, this Vera lady had to be a pretty righteous lady indeed, because her name, from her on, would forever stand for truth. That's a heavy ideal to hope for our little one to embody, but hope we will. Next up was my pick. I went with the name Clementine, purely because I hope beyond all hope that my daughter will be as strong a person as Clem from the Walking Dead Telltale game. Then, a pleasant surprise happens. We find out that the Latin name Clementine means mercy, or merciful. So 2 ideals that my one and only lady love and I hold so very dearly end up right inside the very name we deem to tag our little one with, catch and release style. Truth and mercy, or, in a more digestible package, a merciful truth. I tell the story of the naming and the backstory of each because I wholeheartedly believe that a merciful truth is exactly what Chris is attempting to introduce to everyone in this episode tonight. Sometimes the truth can be an impossible pill to swallow. It's why I believe one delivered with the intent of mercy can, in the purest terms, make it seem wholly unlike medicine. It can hopefully open your eyes to the fact that the truth doesn't need to be frightening. That when its foundation is set atop a merciful intent, it can be pure and sweet beauty.
Nothing is in my tree. I mean, it must be high or low. That is, you can't, you know, tune in, but it's alright. That is, I think it's not too bad. Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to Strawberry Field. Nothing is real and nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever.
Hello?
Hola.
Hello, hello?
Boys
Hello?
and girls.
Hello? Hello?
Am I in a dead zone?
What?
Can you hear me now?
What?
Oh man.
You know what I just said, Chris? You know what I just said?
Something about a cheeseburger and a large size with a Coke.
So unbelievably close, I said, welcome to another Chris motherfucking-tastic episode of See No, Hear No, Speak No.
Hey, don't be buttering me up over here. I mean, I like butter, don't get me wrong, but
I can't butter you up. You come pre-buttered.
that is so nasty. Oh, to go along with the UFOs, the conspiracies, and the Midas. And yeah, this is not going to be any of those this time. So it's one of Chris's fun episodes.
I still know next to zip about this. But if any of you, like I, were curious even the slightest bit as to where Chris forcefully yanked the name Trismegistus from, apparently today, tonight, this evening, this morning, afternoon, lunchtime, it doesn't matter when you listen to the show, it's gonna happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to learn who this Trismegistus thrice magical. No, that's not it. It's thrice great.
Thrice great.
Thrice Magistus.
That's right. You know
Where he comes from and why he comes from it.
Yeah. And when, actually, as well. But,
Who? What?
This particular situation, this whole setup here, this episode, as it were.
I knew this was a setup. I knew it.
This is actually going to be, to mark, like, a milestone for us. I don't know if...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Check this out.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the first time we actually do something we said we were going to do. Many episodes ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're right,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
Good on you,
Hey.
holding your word.
Hey. And this is me making good on my promise, to be exact. So I think that I need a brownie, for one. And for two, just a... I mean, I could use a back massage. I don't think a pat on the back is really going to do me any good. But anyway, whatever. I think I'm making progress here in life.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I think so too, and I'm proud of you. But for one, you're not going to get a brownie because, you know what? Just in all truthfulness, Chris, I think you've been getting a little chubby there around the midsection, and the brownie's not going to help you. The brownie's just not going to help you there.
Life
And number
on the
two, that's what lot lizards are for. You get one of those gross, disgusting, toothless crack whores to rub your back. You don't ask our classy gentlemen and gentlewomen listeners to touch your pimply, hairy back.
Pimply hairy? Not this back. But...
Prove it. Prove it. Prove it.
You want me to get naked on the show? Is it that kind of show? Are we Howard Stern
You know what?
now?
You do what you gotta do.
Are you Howard Stern?
I don't think so.
Jason Stern?
I'll have to ask my mom. She would know for sure.
Jason Stern or Howard Rambo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You don't seem Jewish enough for that.
But I'm excited, and that is true. You are finally doing something that we said quite a while ago that we would. What was that? Was it the Poe episode?
I do not even know. If you remember that accurately, like we're gonna have to
I think
check
that's
now.
when you may have said something about Trismegistus and why he was named as such, and that you would do an episode about him. And I said, fuck you, I'm going to do one first. And I'm actually kind of mad about that. I actually kind of almost wanted to not do the third episode of Albert Fish and just do the Trismegistus episode instead.
That would have been weird to just throw in.
That would have been
episode 3
so weird.
Yeah, like Fish, like 10 episodes later.
But, it makes me wonder the things that I promised to our listeners and listenees, what I said I would do in the following weeks, the next whatever's, and
oh shit, here we go.
I'm realizing that I can't fucking remember a goddamn single one, so I'm gonna have to actually go back and listen to the show and find out these things that I said I would do.
Dude, we had a whole
and
conversation after the show
then possibly
too about
do
it.
them
Like
all
we
the
came up
time.
with some good ones.
All the time too.
That actually
Man.
popped into my head either today or yesterday. That like I was trying to think like what is he gonna do next? And it's like, oh yeah, we came up with something cool of like little mini pieces and shit, but couldn't remember a single one.
Mm-hmm. I do remember what my next episode, what my idea was. I just have to gather it all together in a easily digestible plate, if it pleases the court, I suppose.
Your Honor, I will allow it.
Well, that's you don't tell me the Your Honor that you'll allow it.
Oh,
That's
no.
not how court works, Chris.
That's
no.
what kind of lawyer I am.
Chris, you are here because of a seatbelt charge. If you don't shut the fuck up and sit down and let me make it a non-moving violation, I swear to God, I will hold you in my arms like a baby and sing you to sleep.
Objection, Your Honor. That guy's right. But
Overruled.
he's still a chicken fucker.
Overruled. Every time.
So,
Hush, little Chrissy, don't you cry.
I don't fucking cry, man.
Because it's gonna make it harder to gouge out your eyes.
Indeed. That's what eyelids are for. Well, I believe that is to be one function of the eyelid.
And if your eye holes cease to see, Judgy's gonna slit you anew.
You're a sick
Fuck, man.
fuck.
Yeah, well, rhyming is hard, and I just can't, just all the time. I told Melissa this the other day. I'm not a fucking performing monkey. As much as it looks like it, and as much as it often sounds like it, I do not dance and scratch myself to the tone of a meat grinder.
Why the hell do we feed you and, let you sleep in our beds and stuff then?
Because you love me.
Man.
So, this Trismegistus guy, what's he all about?
Well, I feel
Bring
it.
us back.
What? Don't
I
make.
said bring us back.
Oh,
Let's go diddly-doo, 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 diddly-doo.
that'd be fucking. I wish we did have sound effects for this episode. Actually, they could be useful.
Swing!
I feel it only necessary to give a disclaimer before we get started here. Now, this episode will either teach you something or it's just going to be a bunch of fucking gibberish to you. Either one is fine with me.
That's not very reassuring.
No, and it's not supposed to be, because here are a couple of quotes real quick that just kind of give you an introduction to what is to happen.
Please, sir.
One is, where fall the footsteps of the master, the ears of those ready for his teaching open wide. So, that's why I say, you'll either learn something, or it's just going to sound like gibberish.
Is Trismegistus Yoda?
He very well may be the basis for the character that is Yoda. You got me.
You don't think the other way around?
I mean,
That was in a universe far, far away.
it's kind
in
of a
time
thing in
long, long ago.
damn near every language but English. Like, their sentence structure is like Yoda speaks. That is how most other languages go on this planet. And the other quote is, when the ears of the student are ready to hear, then cometh the lips to fill them with wisdom, which is just nasty. But
Shawing.
yeah, I think it makes a pretty bold statement in that if you are not ready to hear such informations, then it's just gonna.
And the
whiz
thing
right by you.
is the way that you had explained it to me, it just in passing really, is that it's not something that you can choose to be ready for, or that no matter how much you want it, it doesn't matter if your inner self and mind or whatever other fucking bullshit isn't ready to accept this, then it's not going to work. It's not going to make sense.
Exactamente. You could say that about most things, and you'll see why that statement plays through. But just as a few examples of that being the case, just in regular life as well, it's like Well, there's one thing I say all the time, and that's, when you hit certain points of life where you make a new realization of old information, right? So,
Ah,
like, you've always
yes.
understood it because you speak the language, and you spoke the language when it was told to you. So you understood what the guy told you, or what your mom told you, or whoever. But you didn't understand it because you related to it, or because you had any experience in said scenario or whatever. So when that happens, it's like a fucking, it's like, your neurons firing or whatever. It's like you open your eyes for the first time to,
Mm-hmm.
wow, okay, now it makes fucking sense.
Well, it's like just because you listened didn't mean that you understood.
Exactly. Exactly, and that is the way. So, in then comes into play things like mind over matter. Well, okay, we're not specifically talking about telekinesis or anything like that. I mean, I think that's to the extreme. But let's say quitting smoking. Anybody can do it. You just have terrible willpower most of the fucking time. Yeah,
I just don't feel like it.
addiction sucks, withdrawal sucks, but you can do it. I mean, nicotine is not the worst thing that's ever happened to, the humans' fucking addictive personalities and shit. I just,
Mm-hmm.
it's,
I get you, and I think the ones listening out there do too. We have a smart bunch
right.
that follow us, or at
I
least I
think
like
so.
to believe that. Um,
I
oh,
imagine so.
just real quick. Hey, all you smart dummies out there, if you're not dumb smarties, you should email us at snhnsnpod@gmail.com, or Chris.
That would be see no, hear no, speak no pod at gmail.com.
It's your choice. Do either, because
Either
if you
one.
don't, Chris will not continue with the telling of Mr. Trismegistus. And I think we all know where we would be then.
I mean, you may be highly enlightened, or you may be exactly where you are before you even hear this. You may
Or
not
if you're a
even listen
dude,
to this.
look down. Is your penis gone? Ooh, you should have emailed us.
See? Fucking Marty McFly it away. But we're not talking about time travel right now. That's other episodes. We're gonna talk about this guy. This fucking guy. This guy actually, to be honest, may or may not have even existed. This
Mm-hmm.
may,
As most Chris episodes go.
yeah, well, I mean, this guy may be, he may be the embodiment of, or the let's say the personification of an idea that
Mm-hmm.
everybody needs, but nobody will admit.
Oh, like Batman.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. Okay, and I say that nobody will admit, but it's not nobody. There's a lot of people. But it's more so along the lines of, well, like religion won. So most of the world doesn't want to admit at this point. I mean, how many people are going to look like assholes uh, if and when we figure out that we don't fucking need all that? Like, there's not. It's kind of like Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do. He figured you don't fucking need all that. It's showy. It looks cool. It's traditional. But if I just hit you like this, you don't even see it coming because I'm not showing you all kinds of craziness. I just pop pop.
Yeah, but
You know.
then why did I learn how to do backflips
Well,
then,
see.
Chris?
Yeah, exactly. Because back in the day before we built fucking buildings that had cars everywhere, like, it was okay to do a few back handsprings to get out of a situation where a motherfucker's attacking you with a spear and shit. So, but I mean, but that's the thing though, it's always been in my mind that you don't need all this. Clearly, I couldn't possibly be the only human that can't wrap my mind around why everybody thinks this way versus
Well, I'd say it's easier. You don't have to think for yourself anymore. If you just accept a teaching, then
that's
a lot of your individuality gets replaced with an overarching theme that you can choose to follow or not. But
so ignorance
lot-
is bliss, is what you're saying?
um yes, but usually ignorance is bliss means that you never knew better to begin with. And in this situation, I find that it is more a self-accepted changing of the mind to let go of. It's just like when they fucking started making us wear uniforms in high school. It's like, oh well, now you don't have to worry about what you wear every day. Well, that really wasn't a huge worry on my fucking list anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I could wake up and find pants and a shirt to fucking wear. I'm not just completely disabled. But you're gonna force this new choice on me, and now I just have to be like, oh well, at least my clothes are picked out. Well, at least my clothes are picked out, Chris.
There it is. And there it is. Well, so I mean, the funny thing about, you know what? Never mind. Just remember that statement. That statement you just made about the self acceptance of changing your state of mind and stuff like that.
Will do.
Okay, so like I said, this guy may or may not have even existed. And there's a lot of this, when you hear other shows or other things talk about this person and his works and the things that have come from it and yada yada yada. It's hard not to just read things verbatim when it comes to this particular subject, but I'm trying not to do that because I don't find that to be very flavorful. But there are a few things I'm going to have to, because there's no better way to explain it than the original way and then interpreting it the way...
Well, just... I think you and all of our listeners should always, before you speak any sentence to anyone, should say to yourself, what would Flavor Flav do?
Well, I mean, we're about to find out. Okay,
good.
So, all right, so what it basically says is that there was a point in history. I am not a history buff. If our listeners are, cool, you might know this. If not, whatever. But there was a point in history where the Greeks were hanging out in Egypt, okay, and there was this place called Kemenu, in Egypt, held this temple to Thoth, right? And Thoth, if you remember, Toth, or however you pronounce that, is the ibis. The guy, the dude with the ibis head.
Ibis.
Yep, he was the god of all kinds of fun stuff. Most notably of which would be like writing and science and fucking like everything, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and clocks on chains.
The bringer of the knowledge, basically.
Yeah, boy.
So yeah, he Thoth was very widely respected. He was respected by the other gods because he just knew some shit, right? So he was actually the supposedly the writer of the infamous Emerald Tablets, which are pretty cool. They're very much like the works of our homie Mr. Hermes Trismegistus. Very much like that, and actually they're all attributed to each other, really.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, at that point, when the Greeks were hanging out in Egypt, the temple, that particular temple of Thoth, and that area of Kemenu were also known as Hermopolis and a temple to Hermes.
Hermes
Right, which, as we know, is the scribe
is
of
the
the
Jim.
gods, or
Oh,
the
I,
communicator between the.
I thought you were talking about the Jamaican HR guy from Futurama.
Oh. No, I love that character, though. He's hilarious. The bureaucratic
Mm-hmm.
bastard. Hmm.
But yes, he was the Hermes was the god with the wings on his heels or whatever.
Yep, and on his hat. Yep, he was
Ah,
the
yeah,
messenger.
yeah. It's funny how I brought up wings on your heels in a different episode, and you said something along the lines of, "That sounds stupid. No one would ever have that."
Well, I mean, it does seem aerodynamically just inept.
Yeah, Chris, but the government.
Mm. All right, let's not go there, Jason. It's just going to turn into a whole nother episode if we stop talking about them
Okay,
motherfuckers.
so we're at the Temple of Hermes
The Temple
in
of Hermes.
Nova Scotia, Wisconsin.
Indeed. God damn. Fucking Wisconsin again. Good cheese, but all right. So yeah, man. At that point, it is suspected that, or let's say widely accepted, that
Mm-hmm.
at that point, somewhere around those times, which was called the Hellenistic period,
Because of Helen, not because it was hell.
Right.
Like,
right, exactly. Yeah, the ideas of those two gods became basically fused into one, into a man, actually, and who later was deified because he was just, well, he was thrice great, which I will
so
explain.
it was the ideals of two separate gods that were smooshed together and become man.
Yeah, that's basically what is understood. If you look at
Okay.
it in terms of this couldn't possibly, all of this knowledge, this type of knowledge for the time couldn't possibly have come from one guy. Or
Right. Okay.
if you look at it in the sense of let's say you take the idea of gods out of it altogether. Could this have been a person who was just, let's say, way ahead of his
Super
time?
fucking smart.
Yeah.
Right. It's making me wonder what gods' ideals were smooshed together to make that conjoined twin lady, where one of them was a country singer
Oh,
and the other one hated country music.
that is a great question. That is a great.
But that is a question for another podcast altogether.
Indeed.
We'll have to email This American Life or something like that.
So, I mean, so that's the thing. He could have been a real person. And it's just said that these two gods were convened within him. And that's why he's so smart, So,
And that could just be rationale for the normal thinker to be like, wow, this guy is so amazingly ridiculously smart. How could that possibly happen? And oh well, I the two gods they're both super goddamn smart, and this guy is so smart. He has to be because of those two type of thing. Like it's a way to
he's
to
imbued
rationalize
with their power.
knowing or seeing someone with intelligence far beyond any normal human. Yeah.
Well, at
I
that
get
time,
that.
you didn't have the vocabulary, nor did you have the scientific basis for anything. So that's the thing. But it could be the exact opposite. He could be not a person at all. He could just be like I said, the mashup of these two gods to create the story of a man. It's the
Right.
story that matters. The story is what stands the test of time.
Just like Harry Potter. I get it.
Exactly. So, he may or may not. I don't know. I don't really know. But let's talk about these two gods real quick. So, these two gods, and I learned, and you kids this episode will learn 3 new vocabulary words.
Sweet.
The first new vocabulary word, I'll tell you about them when we get to them, is psychopomp.
Psychopomp.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
I like it, and I want to know how I can use it in a sentence.
Well, a psychopomp is a god or let's say demigod or someone who is deified and charged with guiding the souls of the living to the land of the dead.
Okay. So it's their job to bring the souls of the dead to their resting place.
Correct. And although the attributes that we talked about of both of these gods, Thoth and Hermes, are true, they were also both psychopomps as well. So it was also their job to do this other thing.
So that would be like a job title, for lack of a better one, like Grim Reaper would be a psychopomp.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
cool.
So you got Thoth, who is scientific. He's reading and writing. He's medicine.
Arithmeticking.
He's right. He's all of that. And then you got Hermes, who's literary and reading and writing. He's the messenger. He's science and that kind of stuff. So when
love spicy food and Jamaican music. Yeah.
Exactly. So when these two merge together, what comes out of it is that astrology and alchemy. Whoever is
Indeed.
now the mashup god comes out of it, and he is now basically the all-knowing of the sciences altogether. And I say all-knowing, and we're not talking about, at this point, we're not talking about a god like a Christian god or anybody.
We're not talking about an all-knowing, all-seeing God that is omnipotent, correct?
Exactly. Take that out of this whole episode.
Is he all-knowing though? Like, does he just know everything?
No.
Okay.
It's not even like that at all.
Okay, got you.
And that's the fun part, though, is because it may sound that way. It really does. If you think about it in one very bland way, it may sound that way. But when you really listen to what the hell he actually says, though, like what his writings, what his teachings are, it is everything.
Okay, understood. Let's get to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm so ready.
All right, so yeah, let's just jump into that. How where are we at on time?
About a half hour.
Okay,
exactly a half hour.
Bueno. So, yeah, their powers combined, we get all the sciences, reading and writing, literary, all that kind of stuff, plus alchemy,
Captain Planet,
and yes, astrology, and Captain motherfucking Planet. So yeah, they're So we got those two gods out of the way. I'm trying to make sure I don't lose me place. Now, I had heard of the Emerald Tablets through my research of the occult and just weird stuff. And
I haven't.
you have not.
So, no.
Oh.
I don't think they're like a well-known commodity.
No, they're not, and it's not something because and this is exactly why. This whole episode, you have to take the idea of the embodiment of everything out of a living God-like structure. Take that out of the equation altogether.
Right.
I'm not saying you can't believe in that. I'm just saying that just for the sake of understanding on a human level, take that out of it, because you can't fathom that at all.
No, there's no way that you could possibly ever even come close to it.
It's honestly not
knowing
for you.
anything like it. Exactly. So,
Like what?
understood.
Right. So, and that's huge, because like we were saying, if you are, if 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 that's what you were raised to believe, and you just took it and ran with it and didn't question it at all, ignorance is probably bliss. More power to you. Cool. Fine. Whatever. You're part of the problem. I'm just gonna throw that out there, and I'm very serious.
We are solutioneers, just like Disney's Imagineers, but we think of the solutions.
Well, I mean,
I didn't say they were good solutions, Chris. I said they were solutions.
yeah, you could do this if one were so inclined.
Yes.
So yeah, okay, so the Emerald Tablets are very much like the Hermes Trismegistus is most noted for his works on what's called the Hermetic teachings, the Hermetic philosophy, let's say. He doesn't give it a name specifically. Obviously, Hermetic, Hermes, Hermit.
Right.
So
now, is he supposedly naming this, or is it later named because of his involvement or creation of said philosophy?
that's the best part about him. He's not a prophet for the sake of being a prophet. He's not a prophet for the sake of being noted as this fucking dude who knows everything. He doesn't care about the recognition, and it's obvious when you really read the stuff. He's not trying to make anything out to sound glamorous or dark in an evil or negative sort of way. He's not talking about how you have to be a good person, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. He's not talking about any of that. It doesn't have to be about teaching you how to live your life. It's more about teaching you how to understand your life.
Okay, so more understanding what's already there, not giving you guidelines on what to do.
Exactly. So that's why you can't really say it's a philosophy. You can't really say it's a teaching. You can't really say it's a religion. You can't say any of that. And he doesn't call it any of that. And nowhere in the teachings do they call it any of that. They hint to, well, I mean, I guess if you want to make your life all about this, then fucking you can call it a philosophy, I suppose.
Then go for it. Yeah.
But so yeah, that's the thing. And the Emerald Tablet is very similar to the Hermetic teachings. And that poses that amongst some other writings that popped up in later centuries. Because, by the way, the Hellenistic period was 323 BC, right around that area.
Okay, so just before the King of Kings came into the picture.
Exactly. Before all that shit. Before, okay, the key word there. Before all that shit. But obviously still lots of people, lots of shit going on, lots of other religions. You call them mythologies, but I feel like that's just being a dick in a nice way.
Well, don't call it a comeback, at least.
See? Don't call it late for dinner. So we're gonna say religions, because at that time they were religions. They were thought to be just as 100% true as the rest of you think your ridiculousness is. So there's the thing. So there were some writings, there were some things that other people scrutinizing this whole business popped up and said, oh, well, Hermes can't be, this can't be a real thing. This couldn't have happened at this time because everything about it coincides with this time. And, okay, to me, okay, whatever. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a student. I'm not a researcher. I'm not none of these things. So
these are all true.
I'm trying not to be a dick about this, but at the same time, how are you going to say something is based on something else when something else was written before something else? So I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It's whatever. They can think whatever they want. Either way,
Exactly.
It doesn't change the fact that what this is makes more sense than goddamn anything else.
And to be absolutely fair, this makes more sense to Chris than absolutely anything
To
else.
Chris than anything else. Yes.
I mean, so far I dig the dude's words. So let's see if my brain's ready to accept it.
Okay.
And him into it.
So right. So the Emerald Tablet actually was I want to say the first whatever to mention the Philosopher's Stone, or to
really
have been derivative. The idea of the Philosopher's Stone was derived from writings of the Emerald Tablet.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Emerald Tablet were written by Thoth. So, and Thoth is science and alchemy and all that fun stuff. So a lot of cool stuff happening here.
Indeed.
So the Hermetic teachings basically were passed down through word of mouth until a certain point when they were finally written. Obviously not by Hermes at that point, but
how many years after Hermes
it doesn't
would have been around were these? It doesn't say?
It doesn't say. Yeah, there's
okay.
That's one of the weird little fishy things if you want to poke and prod at it.
Right.
What was written is this masterwork called the Kybalion, and it was written by people that call themselves, what is it? I'm sorry. The Three Initiates.
The Three Initiates?
The Three Initiates.
Like initiates at a what's it, a frat house type deal? Kind of thing?
Yeah.
So like there's going to be some sexy hazing going on, and possibly maybe a little alcohol poisoning and a court case afterwards because of...
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Man.
Never seemed to be that lucky though, Chris.
I never went to college.
In all truthfulness. I went to a college before.
I'll just say
I don't know if I was supposed to be there, but...
I'm pretty sure the campus police would have sided with you on that one.
Who's this fucker, they all said.
Exactly.
Very unprofessional is what I say.
Fucking Mohawk. So, the Kybalion. Hermetic philosophy was originally published in 1908 by a person or persons under the pseudonym of the Three Initiates.
Okay.
Now this...
That sounds sufficiently cloak and daggery.
Right. Now this is a book claiming to be the essence of the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus. Now...
The essence of the teachings. Now, remember that, people.
Well... See, that's the thing. There is no direct path because they were all by word of mouth. So this is all passed down. And that's probably why this person is, or these people are contesting that Hermes even existed or any of this shit even existed, because it published in 1908 and then something else was published. And I could go into all that if we have time, but it's really not important, so...
Right.
Fuck it.
Well, we'll see where we're at in a bit.
So yeah. 1908, by the Yogi Publication Society in Chicago, Illinois, which I just passed earlier today.
Hey, boo boo.
And is now in public domain, so if you really want to, you fuckers can go look this up and read it your damn selves, because it's quite the read. And there's plenty of audiobooks or whatever on it. You can fucking find it. It's not hard.
Like, not to be this guy, but like, will someone that I can understand reading it be reading it? Or will it be like calling a fucking AT&T helpline?
No, it's not going to be that. Okay. It'll be a human, but...
Well, I mean, I know it would be a human, but would it be, Tim from North Dakota, eh? Or would it be, Paul from Texas, who is actually Shamut from India?
No, I've heard one strong accent, and it was kind of British sounding, but kind of Australian sounding as well.
Those I can do.
Yeah, they're all fairly mild accents, though.
Okay.
But see, now here's the thing, though. You remember how we were talking about whenever you hear just a lot of big words back to back to back to back to back, like your mind starts to stutter on remembering what all of these things mean and then fitting them into the context and all that kind of shit, and you
Absolutely.
Just blank it out after a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's what happens when you listen to this.
Okay.
It's totally what happens, and it's just spots here and there that'll do that, at least for me, because it's a lot to take in. Certain parts of this, you're gonna want to just stop on a sentence and be like, holy shit, now I get it. Oh fuck, now that's gonna open up all kinds of doors.
I understand.
Right, so it's that sort of thing.
Got you.
Finish my coffee. Okay, here we go. The Kybalion speaks of the Hermetic principles being seven. 7 Hermetic principles that this philosophy is based on, or you can do whatever you want with. But these 7 Hermetic principles are the truths of the universe. And I say the truths because as of yet, there is no contesting these truths. They just are. Also, to the point that science is continuing to prove time and time again that this shit is true. And if you want to think about how, if you want to say, okay, well, the original, okay, let's just say the originals are older than dinosaur shit, BC.
That's old.
That's pretty fucking old. And for everything, along the way to have just continued to prove that this shit is true, it's kind of saying a lot, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So the 7 principles are: number 1, the principle of mentalism. Number 2, the principle of correspondence. Number 3, the principle of vibration. Number 4, the principle of polarity. Number 5, the principle of rhythm. Number 6, the principle of cause and effect. And number 7 is the principle of gender. Now, all of these things...
Wait, I think you forgot one. Where was Principal Belding?
Ooh, he's waiting on you and your Zach Morris timeouts in the middle of class. You fucking...
Just with his pants down, just licking his lips.
Ooh, he's got that yardstick in his hand too, ready to smack some bun cheeks.
Following me to my beach job and then to college. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Pretty blonde hair, motherfucker.
Well, then again, who wouldn't?
You're so nasty. So, man. So yeah, let's give a little something about each of these, just so.
Please do, yeah.
You know,
because some of those I might think I have, a grasp on what it's talking about, but I could be completely fucking wrong. And some of them I would almost guarantee myself that I am before I even hear it.
Right. Right. Yeah, the words themselves make a little bit of sense, but yeah. So and that's, oh, god damn it. My bad, guys. I didn't have coffee that time, but damn near
Thank
did the
God.
same exact thing as when I just tipped my shit all over everything.
You, sir, need to, I don't know, get like a table, maybe?
Yeah.
Instead of like something that you put on your lap. I don't know, man. Just like something that you can't just knock over.
No, this was
if
like a
you-
little rolly shelf. Like it's just a little shelf that rolls out and stops, and that's why.
And flips over at the slightest fucking.
No, it didn't flip. It just kind of jumbled, and the coffee flipped. But anyway,
Yes, anyway.
this time it was safe.
Okay, good.
Let me hit this vape.
You go for it.
Okay, that was nice.
Mm-hmm. Feel better?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
number one is the principle of mentalism. This one on its own, and you could honestly say the more thinking you do on each one, it really doesn't matter how much time you take. If you do any real thinking on each one of these, you could say that each one is the most important. You really could, but but honestly, I think this first one is probably the most difficult. So
Okay.
I'm gonna say it's the most important. All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
The principle of mentalism, and there is a quote from the Kybalion that says, "All is mind. The all." Excuse me. Let me be specific about this. It is a quote.
Yes, please.
The all is mind. The universe is mental. Okay. Two.
The all is mind.
Mhm.
The universe is mental.
And not in a British
Okay.
way.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Mr. Jacob T. Shit, I forgot. How did I forget his last name?
I don't know who the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, no.
Oh, you mean
Now I feel like
James
a
T.
dick.
Abbott?
Abbott. Yes.
Aw. See, you had me with the Jacob thing. I was
No,
like,
because we
who
fucked
the
up.
fuck is?
Because we kept calling him different J names.
No, I know.
The Abbott.
Well,
I can't believe I forgot that.
well, Jamal T. Abbott.
Yep. My bad.
It's not
homie.
what you think it means.
No,
He
it's not.
doesn't listen. Whatever.
You're kind of mental. Yeah. So this principle, and this is part of the stuff that I'm just gonna have to read and then try to interpret a little bit as we
Yeah,
go
please,
back and
please,
forth.
yeah.
All right. This principle embodies the truth that, quote, all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances which we know under the terms of the material universe, semicolon, the, quote, phenomenon of life, semicolon, quote, matter, quote, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses. Okay, so that little explanation right there, that's what the all is. The all is
Okay.
everything we know, ever known, ever will know.
It's fucking everything.
It's
all
fucking
is
everything.
fucking everything.
The
Not just
all.
everything. It's fucking everything.
Okay, so that's, first off, that's difficult for a lot of people to even consider because their God is standing in the way. But
Right.
But if you can take that personification of it away, right?
And shove it up your butt.
Right, because that's kind of what it is. It's a personification of what this is. But if you can remove that, then this will make that make a lot more sense. Because in
Right.
all honesty, if you want to take it all the way back, when I said, the key word there being before, is that once you just hear this and you think about all the other things you know about religion, it's possible that all comes from here. It's
Mm-hmm.
like these are the truths that we're gonna branch off and just start new shit on, right? Because it all makes sense, but we can't talk to everybody like they're smart, because that's what this is. Like,
Yeah, gotcha,
right,
gotcha. This is a book about fucking astrophysics written by astrophysicists for astrophysicists.
right, basically. By open-minded people who may, I don't know. So that's why these dudes call themselves, or we think that's why these dudes call themselves the Three Initiates, because you're not even a student of this
Mm-hmm.
until, like, I don't know, but see, like, there's no
Like
structure.
until you would be able to know enough,
There's no, yeah, but
kind of deal.
yeah, but there's no
So
structure.
you couldn't possibly.
You couldn't like put it on a ladder and say, okay, once I know this much, then I'm considered this. It's like you don't know shit until you can manifest, or let's say, manifest is kind of a strong word, but let's say, like, you will embody these teachings, and it will be obvious to you. It's kind of like, let's say, like, your anti-aging cream is actually working and you're noticing your wrinkles go away. It's not working
Mhm.
until you notice that it's working.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So it's like it's you don't know until you know, and then you know because you know.
Right. Well, I mean, that's philosophy for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because you don't know shit, and that's the funniest part about this whole experience, that is life and existence, is that, when it really comes down to it, we don't know dick. We never know dick.
It's like I said, that kids, as teenagers and such, fucking are such assholes because they think they fucking know everything.
I was just about to say that you're only a
and you
dick
don't-
if you think you do.
Yeah. Exactly, and you don't truly grow up mentally until you realize that you don't know fucking anything.
Well, a lot of people don't. A lot of people tend to break when they realize they don't know shit.
Mm-hmm. Because then the world's a super scary place.
Yeah.
But not for me. It became a super fun, interesting place because now there's all this new shit that I get to learn.
Yeah, I mean, it was scary for me for a little while, and then I decided to just do something different, and now it seems to be, trying to open itself up, and I feel like, I started reading this really recently, because we all know I don't fucking read, but this stuff, every time I do read something, is always something, I always make something new out of it, and I think that's the beauty of it in itself.
Right.
You can only understand it the way you understand it, but if you understand it, it will work for you. And I'm not even talking about on a self-help, fucking take Jesus into your soul sort of way. You'll understand. Anyway, so we've clarified the all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The all is fucking everything. I'm not gonna continue to fucking harp on that shit. So the idea of mentalism, it talks about, it explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in its parts or units has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live, we quote, live and move and have our being, end quote.
Okay. So all of existence exists within the all, and that includes are ourselves.
Correct. But
To the smallest degree, greatest and smallest.
yep, but it not only exists within the mind of the all, it's also a projection of the mental power of the all.
Okay, so not only does it exist within, but it is also there because of.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Right.
I mean, I do technically think I might be grasping this. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's the thing. You get it. Everybody, you should get it because it makes sense. But when you really start thinking about how any of this shit is any more possible than anything else you know to exist, why the fuck not sometimes? Right?
Absolutely.
Let's go with that.
Absolutely. Why the fuck not sometimes? Absolutely.
So, yeah, this principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental. How do I say mental? Mental.
Start over again, please.
Okay. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental and I think that's supposed to say physical, phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment.
Okay. Now, unpack that ever so slightly for us.
That's a difficult one because, that's when it says such a large portion of the public attention, the mental and psychic phenomenon. Yeah, see, that says psychic. Let's say that's not physical. That's my stupid fucking reading. Mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention. When you say public attention, you got to imagine all the shit you do pay attention to in your day, and all the shit that happens that you don't know about or that you don't even see around you.
Right. That. So basically, more the collective world mind, but kind of just on the surface consciousness of it all.
Right. What you see is what exists.
All sales are final.
So let's, I mean, this is very Schrodinger's cat. Very, very.
It only exists if you can see that it exists, because if it's in there, it might not exist because, hey, who knows, right?
Right. And I've wondered this a lot growing up because we had landlines growing up. I don't know, I never thought I would fucking say that, but okay. I always wondered as a weird kid if it was really the person I was supposed to be talking to on the other end, or if it was a fucking alien or some kind of body snatcher, some kind of android or
Yeah, you
disembodied
were a weird
voice.
kid.
Yeah.
You were a weird kid. No, I mean, I remember being very, 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 very young, and when my mom would have people over to the house, and my brother and I would be sleeping in our room, I would imagine that they were all robots
Fucking
that
robots.
were over here, and they're like, yeah, finally we don't have to be humans anymore. We can be robots now because the children are asleep. And it was never like a malicious thing. What I couldn't experience, I couldn't possibly understand. So my brain was like, hey, maybe robots, huh?
Maybe. It very
So
well
I get
could
it.
be.
I get it. I do.
Okay. So so that's the thing. What you see is what what exists. All right. The cat is in the box. We put it in the box. We saw it go in the box. But when the box closed, is the cat really there or is it not? Could be anything in the box, right? Could be the perfect apple pie. Could be immortal cobras. We don't fucking know. Sorry, pecan pie. I'm a dumbass.
Yeah, I was about to say that you are fired, but
yeah.
you redeemed yourself.
Okay, so an understanding of this great hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. Because in essence, that's what this is about. It's about improving your well-being and advancement. Now, if you want to take this to the extra hermit level and apply Zen to it, well, then you really got your work cut out for you. But Zen, one of the main first parts about Zen, all applies right here to this principle of mentalism.
Now, real quick, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this is, like you said, it's not laying out like guidelines, like this is how you should live because we say so, but that it's almost more like a tips and tricks guide. Like, remember back in the day before we had the internet, we would fucking buy, like, books that would have, like, the codes or the secret areas and shit to video games, right? And we then had the knowledge and information to do with it what we chose in our fucking games. Well, this is like a tips and tricks fucking guide, but for life. And you can then use this to better your life or your situation, but it's not going to tell you what to do, when to do, because it's going to say, here's all this awesome information, and now you fucking make up your own mind.
And that's exactly what it is. You can choose to act on it. You can choose to apply it. You can choose to be, proactive or reactive to it. It doesn't change the fact that this is what the universe is, or let's say this is how things work on this level. If you can allow yourself or connect yourself to understanding this, lots of other things will flow in a totally different way for you.
Right.
Now, a lot of people need some fucking
I dig that.
extra hyper fucking white guy yelling about, or a black guy, or a fucking Indian dude, I don't give a shit, yelling about fucking, you need to do this with your life, you gotta wake up, you gotta fucking, whatever, these people are out to get you, yada yada yada. It's not about any of that. It's not about any of that. And one of the main things that it comes down to, like I've been talking about, is that honestly, there are no rules. The universe doesn't give a shit about your rules.
Right. Absolutely, man.
Right? It has its own rules, and if you understand those rules, then it'll make the rules of man a lot easier to grasp and a lot easier to work with, because it liberates you from I don't really know, to be honest. I think it's different from everybody.
I don't think it liberates you. Well, it certainly doesn't liberate you from having to follow the rules of man.
But
it can tell you in a more understandable, easier to digest way why such rules exist, why such rules can be beneficial to all, even if you don't want to follow them. And then you can logically think through, well, then, this isn't all just bullshit because it's bullshit because the government, man.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss, but sometimes it can land your ass in fucking jail. Right?
Absolutely.
See? I mean, really, first, just don't be a dick, and you can keep yourself out of all kinds of situations.
Yeah, that's the first in the See No, Hear No, Speak No commandments is commandment number 1: Thou shalt not be a dick.
Not to be confused with rule number 1: shut up.
And commandment number 2: shut thy mouth.
Not to be confused with rule number 2: the fuck up. Right?
That's right.
So
get it.
Let's the Hermetic student, okay, when observing this principle number 1 of mentalism, the Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in a haphazard manner, as is the case with a lot of things, You just slapping fucking flippers until you actually slow down and start paying attention to what you're doing in some pinball, right?
Absolutely. Once you know the rules, you can play the fucking game.
Exactly. And that is why this rule is for me is the main one, but it in this book, the Kybalion is considered the master key. It says within the master key, with the master key in his possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge, and enter the same freely and intelligently. That's the thing. Just because you have the key doesn't mean you can unlock the door. Just because you unlock the door doesn't mean you can walk through. Right?
Absolutely.
This is a lot of metaphor going on here, but that's kind of what it is, though. Your mind understands things in a certain way. Everybody's mind is just a little tweaky, a little differently. It can get through to it a little differently. But if you can figure that out, you're basically unlocking the key to yourself. It's not the key to God. It's not the key to heaven. It's not the key. It's the key to you. The key to understanding how you understand, right?
Well, I think if God truly were the deity, the man, whatever, that Christians in general believe him to be, I think that is what that would be the way to him anyway, would be through a better, more realized you, and for you to be the smartest, most informed fucking person about his creation as possible, instead of just blindly following with quote unquote faith the teachings of some raving lunatic that happened to fucking get a TV show, then I think that you're better off serving whatever deity you wish if you are the most well-informed, learned version of that follower.
Exactly. But that's only one of the many avenues you can go on to understand by really studying this one principle. So for the sake of time, we're going to move on, because that principle you could spend all kinds of time on.
Right.
So yeah, but you're exactly right, and that's another one of the best parts about these, is that pretty much whatever you come up with in your mind to make sense of this is right, because it's true in the first place.
Right.
All you need to know for yourself is that you're right. We all know all kinds of things that we were never taught. It just comes to you. I call it right now. I'm gonna do an episode on the Akashic Record, and it will play into this, and I will mention that because it's fucking serious shit. But that's one of those things, you just, sometimes you just know shit and you don't know where it comes from, and you don't know why you would know something like that. And it doesn't have to be something extreme that you would never know, or oh my god, why do I know that this guy's last name is this, or it's not some psychic shit I'm talking about. It's
Right.
just sometimes you just know things, but you need clarification, or you need somebody that you trust, or somebody that you look up to, or whatever it is, tell you that you're right. And sometimes it's not even directly to tell you that you're right, but it's to relate to something they said that you're like, oh yeah, okay, fucking yeah, exactly, that's what I thought, right?
Or to know that thing that you intrinsically know why it's important to begin with.
Right, because we're not all philosophers, we're not all scientists, we're not all, great thinkers, but we all know.
We prove that every fucking week here on this show.
Seriously. Oh, so true. But still, though, we all have brains, and we all have the ability to contemplate and to reason, and to come up with these same truths in ourselves, however we come up with them, or however we understand them. But here they are in such a way that when you read this, and when you do get it opens up everything you've ever thought into a whole new realm. So, so number 2, the principle of correspondence. And the quote from the Kybalion is, "As above, so below. As below, so above." Seems fairly simple, taking it back to, Newton and shit with the apple falling out the tree and all that kind of fun stuff. What goes up must come down. But
Indeed.
it's true, right? It's pretty simple.
Physics is often true.
Right?
Yes.
This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomenon of the various planes of being and life. So, according to this particular principle, let's see, hang on one sec. There are 3 planes of being. That is the great physical plane, the great mental plane, and the great spiritual plane.
Okay, and they forgot the great soul plane.
Soul plane.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, the very same.
The very same.
Okay, so vocabulary word number 2, as we have run into
Yay.
it. 2 and 3. We'll just go ahead and throw them both out there. Axiom.
Axiom.
Yeah.
I may actually know what that word means.
You might.
And it would be exclusively in thanks to a video game.
There you go.
But go ahead, Chris.
Well, an axiom is, let's say it is a truth. It's just something that's true. And the vocabulary word that goes along with it is aphorism, where an axiom is something that is just intrinsically true. An aphorism is a statement about an axiom that is well known. So
it's different than an affirmation, an aphorism.
correct.
Okay.
So we know that let's say the axiom being that we know that gravity exists. If I throw something in the air, it's going to hit the ground eventually. The aphorism being what goes up must come down.
So the axiom is the truth.
Correct.
The aphorism is the easy to digest explanation of truth.
Right, the one that everybody knows, the one they quote they say.
Right.
That one. Right, but
Got you.
We'll get to that. We'll get to them and those statements. We will. So as above, so below. As below, so above. These various states of being, which I just mentioned, the old Hermetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below, as below, so above. And the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secret of nature. Because when it comes down to it, if a paradox exists, there must be an opposite to it. There must be a fix for it.
Correct.
Right?
Because a paradox is a world ending happening.
But if it doesn't, then there it is.
Then it isn't.
And it is always entirely possible. And just as,
Correct.
either way. So there are planes beyond our knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. So it says this principle is of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe. So basically it's saying that it's all happening at the same time, all on one. They are different planes, but they're all here right now because they're all part of the all.
I mean, they're all smooshed together as one because, you wouldn't have, for lack of a better word, a synchronicity synchronicity
Mm-hmm.
of sorts, and there would be no. I mean, there couldn't be a an understandable world if they all ran and did their own thing on their own time. There would just be a jumbled mass of bullshit all the time.
Exactly.
So it'd be like Fox News as opposed to Cartoon Network.
It's perfect. That's a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So that particular one goes very in depth, but we're gonna go on to number 3, because correspondence will play back in to the rest of them. It's just one that's a little more difficult. It's easier. It's easier to just come to you versus there's a lot on it. I'm just not going to go into it. So the third principle is the principle of vibration.
I think we all know why we need that.
We do. Oh, yeah, we know. The quote being, "Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates."
Aha.
So that's one of those things that science is continuing to prove true. We
Absolutely.
we know that every molecule, every atom, everything is made up of the same stuff in constant motion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everything. We also know that most things, everything is, because there's so much space in between each molecule. Technically, we are 90% free space. Like, we're not really even here, and nothing actually touches anything else. It's literally the invisible force field around each atom or molecule or whatever, that comes in contact with the other one, vibrating at a specific rate, and
They like to call it their personal space.
Exactly. Get out of my personal space.
Always telling me I'm fucking invading their personal space. Whatever. You suck off. Son of a bitch. Stupid nut atoms and molecules and think you're important.
See.
Asshole.
So we know that to be 100% true as of yet. Right? It's true. And yet this Hermetic principle was enunciated thousands of years ago by the masters of ancient Egypt. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in the vibration. The higher all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale, right? So,
Ew, what a gross form of matter.
that's the grossest form of matter.
Ew.
The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest, just as the rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. Right? It's moving so fast you can't even fucking see it. It looks like it's just standing there. Right? It can probably...
You've seen me masturbate.
Man, I thought he was going to start a fire.
In my pants.
I told him you should trim those pubes if you're going to keep doing that.
And I told him vibration feels good.
Pants aren't cheap. Neither are boxers.
Don't tell me what's to do.
Shit. So that's the thing. Okay, so it comes down to things on every scale. Everything is moving. It's also true, let's say, it says this is also true on the planes of energy and force, which are but varying degrees of vibration, and also on the mental planes, whose states depend on vibrations, and even onto the spiritual planes, it says. An understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas, enables Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. Now, see, there's the thing right there. You think
So, are we now getting into the metaphysical of this?
it sounds that way.
It does sound that way.
It does sound that way. But there it is again. If you really want to take it and turn it into that, you probably could. But it's not. That's not exactly what it's talking about. It's not talking about...
Because you promised me that I could be the new Professor X after this episode.
I mean, you could. I see. That's it's all in the wording. I told you could. I promised that you could be. You could be anything you want to be.
You did say
Jason.
that. That's, you know what? You're the first person to ever tell me that I believed.
Get an edge on life in the army.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me to start doing drugs. Oh.
Well, yeah, but wait till I get there. Don't fucking be stingy. Don't be stingy.
Always waiting.
I always come with some of my own. I mean, we share. We share.
Shut up and talk so we don't get in trouble.
All right. So yeah, it sounds like mind control. It sounds like magic powers, but that's not exactly what it's talking about. It says the masters also apply this principle to the conquering of natural phenomenon in various ways. Quote, "He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power." End quote. So, okay, let's just think about that real quick. If everything is mental, right, and you can use your own mental power, let's just say, for lack of a better word, power, to change your vibration. Technically, everything's made of the same stuff, right? So let's say from like a superhero standpoint, I could possibly match the vibration of the wall and walk right through it.
Correct.
Okay. But there's a lot of other things too.
Everything vibrates, so you can technically walk through everything.
Right.
Is what Chris is
Or
saying.
you could fuse with everything, or you could turn into everything. You could be one with everything in a whole different, like, mental way versus physical way. You could.
That's right. Instead of trying to have sex with everything, you could just think like everything.
Exactly.
And then everything is everything and nothing. But that is exactly what everything is.
In the first place.
So, truth among truth is truth. Baby.
In a sequin dress.
So I was going to say a different way I think that I took that line to mean would be that if I could better train my own brain to understand others and other things, how they work and how they think, that I could then have better control over myself with the rest of creation, with the rest of the universe.
There you go.
And I would be able to not just fit in, but and not manipulate as far as making people think or do things that, you know, they don't want to do, that I'm like, haha, I'm gonna fucking make them do that. It's more, I can manipulate the conversation or the situation into something else, not necessarily something that I deem it to be, but something else entirely, because I know this person well enough that we can talk freely about fucking anything. I think it's more about just knowing yourself and other people well enough to be comfortable in any situation, and then you can do anything.
Well, there you go. There's your first understanding of it, and it is entirely that, but it's also thinking along the lines of let's say just simply if you have how do I put that? Okay, let's say if you are you're vibrating at a specific rate and you have people around you, right? And they're all
Mm-hmm.
doing their thing. Let's say all separately, all thinking about separate things, all have separate lives from separate areas and all this kind of shit.
You're setting up a real sexy scenario
Oh
here.
yeah.
Is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
it's gonna get nasty and fucking oh,
Oh, it's gotten there already,
oof.
and I love every second of it. Man, do I
DPs
love every second
are
of it.
coming. Um,
Hmm.
let's just say, I mean, heat. Okay, we'll put it in the form
Mm-hmm.
of heat. The person in the center is really hot. Everybody is radiating heat. Everybody else is at room temperature, right? The closer they are to that person, obviously, the warmer they will be.
Mm-hmm.
Further away, they'll be cooler, right? But let's say they stay right there at a normal distance where they stay room temperature. The person in the middle is hot. The hotter he gets, the warmer they will be, even if they stay still at the same distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now think of that in the sense of changing your vibration. The more vibration you put out, the more it affects everything around you, or the different vibrations you put out affects everything around you differently. So
Mm-hmm.
if the universe is all mental, what you project inwardly to yourself is what is reflected outwardly in your vibration. And it affects
Okay.
everything else around you. So the more positive you are, have you ever heard the statement about, or so, it's not an aphorism, because I don't know the aphorism for this, but I'm sure there is one. But how like people will say, just put on a smile. The more you smile, the more everyone else around you will smile, just because you're
Mm-hmm.
smiling. How
Yep.
laughter is contagious, even if people don't know
And
what you're laughing at.
and it is absolutely 100% true that if you can force a smile, your fucking attitude, your mood will
It is
change. It
100%
will.
true. But that's what we're
Yep.
talking about here. You change your vibration to match what you want your life to be, your existence to be, and thus you will also change other people's vibrations around you. It's how you
Mm-hmm.
do that that will then go on to cause other things, which we'll get into the principle of cause and effect. But it all plays a part. You just have to every understanding, like I said, every understanding you have of this is true. It's all correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the more you understand it, the more useful it is.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow.
Reading rainbow. Okay, so moving on.
Wait, hey, Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi.
Yes.
Uh, how much more is there?
Ooh, we've bullshitted
Like,
quite a bit, haven't we?
could this, I mean, do you have enough for another ep? Or what's up?
I do.
'Cause
I could make another episode out of it. I would actually feel better about that.
sweet, sweet sauce. Because I don't want to rush any of this. This is like deep, deep shit that we're kind of talking about here. I haven't said the word cunt once till just now.
Right?
I haven't made fun of you very much.
Strangely, no.
I need these opportunities in my life and in our show, Chris.
I'll give you more next time.
Okay, good. Because we are at an hour 30 exact.
Woo! Look at that.
So
These last four principles are very important, and none of this. Well, you know how it is. You got to get the
okay,
whole
yeah, because
story.
I seriously don't want to rush it because I'm fucking enjoying it first of all, and it's only gonna fucking get better from here on out.
Indeed.
So should we just go ahead and say thanks for listening to another cliffhanger of an episode of
Hell yeah.
See No, Hear No, Speak No.
Indeed, the UFOs, the conspiracies, the big brain fuckery, and the murders, which there are none of this time. But I will say, though, disclaimer for the next episode, that whole thing is just going to be jam-packed like your butt, full of mind fuckery. No more.
That is where I like to keep mine.
Yeah, we don't have to do like the character intro anymore. Like, you already know who he is. This is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not even talking about him anymore. The rest is about the universe and your place in it. So prepare thy diddly holes.
I dig it, and I will like to leave our listeners off with just one, little. It will learn
A little ditty.
other people, learn other people, and learn the world around you, but do not ever try to subject someone else to your will. If you've learned other people in the world around you well enough, you'll know that that is never a good outcome, even if possible, and it's just never fun for anyone. It might be fun for you for a minute or two, but then it just gets boring. So
Exactly. I second
treat
that.
others in the same way that, you'd want to be treated, by not imposing your will, but by showing everybody else who you are as well. And let them take that and do with it what they want.
Indeed. A true student of life never forces anything that is outside of his own control. It's not... Yeah, it never works out for you. I agree.
And on that light note of... Do I sense some rosemary?
Some rosemary, a little hint of mint, wintergreen on the breeze.
I think it's time, if I'm looking at my naked wrist here.
3 hairs
I think
past a
it's time
freckle,
for
you say?
Countdown. 3,
2.
2, 1. Night, kids.
kids.
Think about it.
Yeah, have good dreams tonight. Laters.
Think that no will be a yes, but it's all wrong. That is, I think I disagree. Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to strawberry fields. Nothing is real, and nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever. Strawberry fields forever.